one of the points we kept saying was we will not make a recommendation if we don't have a solution to give for it, right?
Absolutely.
Because you don't want companies to just have this on paper and not be able to implement it, right? So that was always a driving force, that any recommendation and the timeline to that recommendation has to come from a solution-oriented point of view, and that's why we had so much back and forth on how do we define the recommendations.
Yes,
right?
and I think we actually also had a lot of learning in this space, right? Because while we understand what companies need to do, what reduction, what improvements, but how does an investor actually sees it? What is that delta? I mean, it was so fun to have those insights come in from you and to kind of co-create that experience that not just serves you but also the portfolio companies. But like, you know, getting a little more into the conversation, I personally was very excited to see Value of Good when you first released it. You happened to mention Impact for Good, right? Tell me more about it.
So Value of Good is, in a nutshell, as I said earlier, right? It's do good, do well, right? It's pretty much saying that. We've had our own journey of defining value of good, right? Leading on from saying, is ESG value of good? Is only impact value of good? Is just being sustainable value of good, right? But really, what we've arrived at is that value of good is making sure that your stakeholders benefit more from just the finances benefiting, your stakeholders also benefit, right? So here we've divided it into 2-3 different aspects. One is saying how are you being planet first in everything you do, right? Which is saying doing less harm and doing more good for the environment, but also the communities, right? Which is the 1% CSR initiatives I've told you. None of these companies are obligated by the government to do CSR, but they have taken it on themselves. So planet first becomes a critical piece. And why? Because I explained, right? The value chain of sourcing raw material ingredients inherently needs companies to think about the planet, right? For example, water is such a critical part in the way things are produced. With ground tables reducing, companies need to think about what they're going to do with water, right? So planet first is critical for us. Second becomes people first, which is, I guess, S of ESG in a way. That is 2 aspects. One is internal employees, your people. Are you doing good to them as well? Because that's what will inherently build your business, right?
True.
That's one part of people first. But people first for us is also around diversity. Not just gender diversity, but also bringing in other communities, right? We have Slurp Farm again that's put down targets like 5% of their employee base will be people with some form of disabilities, right? Fable Street, which is a fashion company, is very vocal about saying that we have 3 to 5% of our employees who are from the LGBTQ community, right?
Wow.
So we're seeing all of this happens, which is why people first becomes very critical for us. And finally, since we're a consumer brand, consumer first is the final angle of it in the way we look at value of good, which means that brands have an ownership of educating their consumers on doing good as well, right? Which is saying, let's use products that are better for you and we will give you those products, right? And of course, the whole process of making sure you're giving your consumers what they want, how they want, so on and so forth. But education awareness becomes a critical part of it. And I guess finally, what's also happening within Fireside is we're investing a lot in the health and wellness space, which inherently improves quality of life, right? So that we're seeing as a direct link to being consumer